Hello and welcome to the first of our training on our new Remine forms and e-signature platform. If you are not aware, Remine will replace your free member benefit from the National Association. ZipLogix will no longer be available as a free benefit on December 31st. You can, however, choose to purchase ZipLogix by contacting their customer support department. Okay, let's get started. To access Remine, you will log into your Flex MLS account and go here under Menu. When you click on Menu, you're going to scroll down to where you see Products. In Products, you'll find Remine. You can click right on this and it'll bring you in. But before I do that, I want to show you. I have a star in front of mine. That means I have a shortcut up here on my test bar in Flex. To do that, you just simply would point to whatever you want to put up there. And when you do, you get this little blank star. Go over to the blank star and click on it. It will highlight it and put it up on your taskbar. So I'm going to go through my taskbar, though you can continue to go through your dashboard. I am going to click here on Remine. And when I do, the system is going to verify that I am an active user of the Berkshire MLS and have access to the Berkshire County forms. When you're first brought in, you're brought into your profile where you can add a photo, change your email address. You can also update other information. Please don't change your NERDS number. That's how they know that you have access to Berkshire forms. You can come in here and you can change your license number should it change. You can change your display name. So for instance, if you're brought in here with your formal name but you want to use a nickname or a marketing name, you can do that. All of this other information can be changed as well. So scroll on down through the pages and see what's there and what you want to update. I will point out this impersonation section. If you're a member of a team, or with your broker's permission, you can go in and impersonate another member of your office in Remine. Though it will track who you are when you're doing transactions, you will be able to see another individual's transaction folders. You simply would click on here. Now I don't have anybody to impersonate because I don't have anybody in my office that's a realtor, but had I, there would be a drop-down list with names. You click on that name. The other individual will receive a request from you to allow impersonation. If you are a broker, this is how you could impersonate an associate of your office. There's a lot more information here for you to actually check out too, so make sure you go on through, take a look at all of them, your notifications, etc. Also in this section of Remine is where you're going to find your contacts. It's highly encouraged that you enter a contact before you begin a transaction. Having somebody already in your contacts means that they'll appear in drop-down lists for you as you're filling out forms and will auto-populate through your transaction. If you don't enter a contact before you start a transaction, that's okay. You can still add others later, but it will not populate into your contacts section. So simply click on contacts and you'll see I don't have any contacts yet, so I can add contacts or I can upload contacts. I am not going to talk about the upload process in this video, but will in a video a little bit down the road. So I'm going to go in here and add a contact. You click on add contact. You have all of the normal fields, plus you can add more fields if you want to get much more detailed with your contact information. I am going to add in my contact, Bob Brown. And his email address is buyerbobbrown@gmail.com. I can add in as much as I want here. If I needed to, I could add in a second email address, etc. This brings up the point that if you have more than one contact with the same email address, yes, they can use the same email address without any issues. And then you simply would save. So I'm going to go ahead and save this contact. Once I do, you'll see I'm brought to this page and I am on all contacts. Now, if I wanted to, I could separate out my contacts by groups. So let's say I wanted to be able to see all of my buyers in one list and all of my sellers in another. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add a group. Click on the plus sign and I'm going to call it my buyer clients. Click the blue plus sign and now I have a group. I can go here and I can select Bob. And I can say add to group, and it will give me the list of groups that I have or allow me to create a new one right here as well. So I'm going to say I'm going to add him as a buyer client and I'm going to apply. What this means now is if I come up here to this list, if I click on buyer clients, this is now displaying just my buyer clients and I see Bob in that list. He also is under all contacts, which then will combine all of my contacts in one list. This may be helpful if at some point you want to do marketing with these individuals later to be able to sort them out. You don't have to do that, but it's an option. Okay, getting into the meat of the system now, let's go into Docs Plus. So I'm going to click on Docs Plus. And in here is my menuing system over on the left-hand side. You'll see right now I'm on the dashboard where I can go right in and create a new transaction. I can upload a file and I can impersonate a user right from here without having to go down in through all of these other things to accomplish that. Statistics quickly is just where I see a cumulative total of what I've done this month and what I've done for the year. My transactions is where I would see my transaction folders. The package library is what used to be called or is currently called templates in ZipLogix, where I can put together a group of forms that I always use every time I work with a buyer or every time I work with a seller, etc. The form library is where I'm going to find all of our forms. Clause library, this is where I'm going to find any clauses that have been vetted and created that I use maybe on a frequent basis, like a home sale contingency, let's say. I don't want to have to type that every single time. I can put it in a clause library. It becomes available for use as I'm filling out forms. The checklist library also is a way for me to keep track in the Remine system. It does not currently go out to any calendars, but I believe that's an upgrade that they're looking at. But it is a checklist. It allows me to keep on track of things that I need to do within the specific transaction. Submissions would be where brokers, DRs, would find transactions that their associates have submitted to them for approval. Announcements is where I'm going to find anything that my broker might have sent out to me or that Remine sends out to me. Users is helpful for brokers. This is where a broker can go in and see the transactions of anybody who is currently in their office or previously in their office. So if somebody retires, then you can go in and you can look at their transactions without needing to know their sign-on and their password. Settings will get me back to like my notifications and all of that, and Pro will get me back to that screen that we were on originally where I uploaded my photo and everything else. Handy little feature down here also is the guided tour. The guided tour will show you on any page that you're currently on how to use that page. So if I click on guided tour, just to give you a little example, I can either take a click-through tour or I can read their getting started guide. The click-through tour just allows me to actually see by clicking next. It'll say, here's how you start a new transaction. Here's how you filter your transactions, etc. Okay, so I'm going to go in here to my transactions and let's get started with creating one. I do not have any transactions in here now. If I did, I would see them. And I can start new transactions by clicking up here on this blue button that says new transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. When I do that, it asks me, do I have the buying side? Do I have the listing side? Do I have both sides? I'm going to say I have the buying side. And I'm going to give my transaction a name. Originally, I'm going to start out with my buyer's name, which is Bob Brown. Down here, if the listing is in the Berkshire MLS, we can use the MLS number and it will import some information. If it's not in the MLS, then you can type in an address. So I'm just going to pick a number, 15 Commercial Street in Adams. That's the one I want. I'm going to click on it, and you'll see that it has imported the full name of the sellers and of the listing agent. So shout out to Deb Trzynski. Thank you so much for allowing me to use this listing in our demonstration today. For our purposes, I'm going to take that out because I don't want to accidentally send an email to anybody for real. I have the buyer. I'm now going to enter the name of my buyers. So if I start to type Bob, because I've entered him in my contacts, he is in my drop-down list. And I can click on his name and it adds him. Now if there had been a second buyer and they were not in my contacts, let's say Judy Brown, she's not in my contact list, I can add Judy right here by clicking on her. And then in the gray box, if I click on her name again, does let me use an email or add the email address and update it. You can cancel that, and I'm going to take her back out for our purposes right now. I'm also going to enter the full name of the seller, and the seller is not my contact, so she's not in my list, and I'm just going to add her name. Now again, using the MLS Connect that we did up here, it did bring in the seller's name. So you don't have to concern yourself with that if they're in the MLS, but if they're not, you're going to have to add them. And then the listing agent, let's see, I'm going to say his listing agent A. Also not in my contacts right now, so I'm just going to add them. And if I knew my listing agent's email address and their brokerage name, and then their email address. listagenTA@gmail.com, and I'm going to update that. Now I've got all of this information. I can click on Next. You fill in as much of this as you know. Of course, because I have the buying side, I need to have my buyer's name in there. But if you don't know the seller's name or the listing agent, you can skip right on past it. I'm going to hit Next. Now here I am brought to where I can select the forms that I want to use. I've come in and I said that I'm on the buying side. If my brokerage had added forms, I simply would click on that and I would see those forms. Berkshire Realtors and MLS is going to give you all of the Berkshire County forms. And because I've said it's the buying side, it's showing me only the buying side contracts highlighted. Other forms are still available for use, and you can click on them and add them to your transaction if you need to, but having them grayed out is sort of helpful for you if you're scrolling on through to find something. So I'm going to add the exclusive right to buy contract, and I'm going to add the buyer's consent to dual agency. Now instead of scrolling through here, I can search up here. And when I did, you're going to see that I have actually all mass forms here. So let me just do consent. And now I have Berkshire forms and mass forms. And you can always tell the Berkshire forms because they start with the BC MLS. So buyer's consent to dual agency, that's what I'm going to select. And when I do that, it pops those forms down here in the bottom. So if I wasn't sure if I had the right form when I selected this one, I click on the little I, shows me a version of the form. Yep, that's what I wanted. I'm going to go back, and now I have these two forms. I'm going to say next. And it's added those two forms to my transaction. What you will actually see up here at the top is that it also renamed my transaction with the property address. Okay, so to fill out a form, I simply click on it. And when I do, I get a copy of what our form looks like. And I can just go in and I can start adding information. And if I tab through, I'm just brought to the next sections. County, I'm sorry. Middle. Country, there it is. Okay, and I can add in as much information here, and when I'm done with that, I just click done. And then I can click into the next field, and I can fill in those fields by typing. When I get to a date field, I can pick a date by, using the calendar, etc. So I just click on those boxes, or I click in the fields and I can type. Now I couldn't type in that one because I haven't clicked on it, but as soon as I clicked on this one, it made that field available. Up here at the top, I also want to show you that, so right now the people involved are Bob and me, because I'm the salesperson. If I go back to the document, if I needed to add somebody else at this point, I could do so by hitting Edit People. So I'm going to do, let's put Judy back in there. And go back to the document. Now I have Bob and Judy Brown, and I can move forward from here. So you can always edit your people by clicking Edit up here. And then you can also do fields. So fields, if you're very familiar with the form that you're filling out, sort of like what we used to have in Flex many years ago, for those of you who remember. You can just go through the fields and you can enter any of the information here by just typing in it. And when you go back to the document, it will have filled that out. So I'm going to, let's say we also have a success fee. So now I'm going to go back to the document, and when I do, the success fee box will also be checked off. Okay, it's as simple as that to actually fill out a form. I can also see the history of everything that I've done on this form so far by clicking History at the top. It'll show me when I started it, what edits I made. So I've made 6 edits to it. It'll show me each edit individually. And you'll see that it also moves it around on the form. Okay, so let's go back. I've filled out that form. If I go into the buyer's consent to dual agency, you'll see that Bob and Judy have both been brought over. And it's filling in my information as well. Perfect. Okay. That is how simple it is to begin a transaction. And we're going to end this right now. And please look for the next in our series of videos, which is how to send transactions out for e-signature. Thank you.